All right. So today we're gonna be talking about something that y'all did a little bit last year, but it's gonna get kind of much more difficult this year. So we'll go over the test another time. We're just gonna go ahead and move on to something else. But overall, pretty good job on the test. I think I'll offer extra credit if you correct your test. So that's the plan. All right, guys.
I can
So
get extra credit on my test, miss. Like I can make my 75 to like 80.
yeah, I just said I might do the extra credit for correction. So
Okay, good.
all right, Rodolfo, I'm recording now, so only unmute if you got a question. All right.
All right.
All right. So I need you to stop me if you have a question, because this is about to be 1,000 times harder than last year. So I need to make sure, I know when you're confused, especially since I can't see your faces. So if we were in class, I'm gonna start putting up warm-ups when y'all get on, and then I'll let y'all do these warm-ups and then we'll talk about them. But I didn't give you any time to do this, but just know that we're gonna start with warm-ups every day. So the function f of x equals 4x minus 9 has a range is y, of -3 is less than y is less than 5. What is the domain? So to figure this out, I don't know if you can see that very well. Let me put it over here. It's asking for the domains. It's asking for x when it gives you the y values -3 and 5. So to figure out my x values, I would have to plug in these y values. Well, on here, what represents y? F of x. So I'm going to replace, I'm just going to say y equals 4x minus 9. I'm going to replace this y value in here. So -3 equals 4x minus 9. And I need to solve for x. Hey, Alexa. All right, so solving for x, I would add 9 to both sides. That would give me 6 equals 4x. And then divide both sides by 4. So that would give me x equals 3/2, or 1.5. So that's one x value. I need to find the other x value. So I need to plug in 5 for y. 5 equals 4x minus 9. And solve. Add 9 to both sides. 14 equals 4x. Divides both sides by 4. X equals 7/2, or 3.5. So my range, or my domain, will be 3/2 is less than x is less than 7/2. So we just matched up the x values that went with each of these y values to get our domain. Now, this is probably one of the hardest things to know what to do, just because all the range, domain, f of x, inequalities, you have so much to this that you have to understand in order to get from why won't it let me admit it? Hold on, Alexa, I'm trying to press submit, but it won't me. There it goes. So there's so much stuff that goes into this particular problem. But today, what we're talking about is slope. Please tell me y'all remember this from last year. At least the word slope. At least slope and y-intercept sound familiar. So we're talking about linear equations. So we used this all last year. Y equals mx plus b. The thing that we're going to do this year is go way deeper into this. So I hope you are taking notes, because you're going to learn 2 new equations today, and they're mighty more difficult than y equals mx plus b. But let's review. Y equals mx plus b. M stood for slope. And if you remember the definition of slope, slope is the steepness, or it measures the steepness of the line. So this tells me how much of an incline there is on a line, how steep that line is. So slope measures the steepness of a line. So M stands for slope. This is very important that we remember that M stands for slope. And B stands for Y-intercept. B stands for Y-intercept. Y-intercept, if you remember, is where your line crosses the Y-axis. This is where your line crosses the Y-axis. So I'm making this recording for everybody. So middle schoolers, you have not seen this before, but all high schoolers, you should have saw this in 8th grade. Y equals mx plus b, this is called the slope intercept form of linear equations. Y equals mx plus b, where m stands for slope and b stands for y-intercept. Now, we're learning a new one today, or two new ones, and the other one is called the point slope form. Point slope form.
Oh.
Out of all three, this is probably the most confusing one. So the point slope form is written as this: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is on a formula chart, but obviously y'all don't have formula charts right now. So on this formula, m still represents slope. Those still represent slope. M still represents slope. This time, though, it doesn't give you the y-intercept. Instead, it gives you a point. The point it gives you is the x1 and the y1. And it gives you this point. Now, this is what you're going to have to remember, and this is where it gets tricky. You see how it says minus x1 and minus y1? Most of you would think, oh, that means it's negative, that number is negative and that number is negative. But you have to think opposite here. If this is a minus sign, then the x and the y are positive. If this changed to a plus sign, then the x and the y are negative. So let me write down a formula. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 x plus 4. So every time I would give you something in point slope form, it's important that you understand two questions. My first question is, based on this formula, what is the slope of this equation? So based on this formula, matching with this one, what is the slope in this equation?
1/2.
1/2, perfect. So this 1/2 is substituted in the m place. So this is the slope of this equation, 1/2. The second and the hardest is finding the point. What point is on the line of this equation? Now, I already told you it's opposite. So if it says x plus 4, the x value is giving you is -4. If it says y minus 3, the y value is given to you is +3. So this is the point that this equation is giving you. This is the slope, and this is the point. And the thing that it should make sense, the plus is being negative should make sense, because if I have x plus 4, if I plugged -4 into my equation, 1/2 x minus -4, the negative would give me a positive. So that's why this +4 is actually -4. Let me write another one down. Okay, my first question is, what is the slope that this equation is giving you? One-fourth. Good. I think that's what you said, Noah. 1/4. Because it's replacing the m in the equation. What is the point that this is giving you?
-2, 3.
Oh, -3.
Perfect. -2, -3, because it's both opposite. So awesome. So this is the point that it's giving you. I wish I had more room, but if I asked you to find the y-intercept of this equation, you could. I wonder if I can add another slide. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna show y'all. Let me see if I can erase this.
Miss, are you using the mouse or are you using the pen?
I'm using a drawing tablet. Are you impressed by my nice handwriting?
How do you do that with the mouse?
All right, look at this equation right here. All right, let's say I wanted you to graph this equation or just tell me what the slope of y-intercept is. Well, you don't know the y-intercept from looking at this equation. But my question is, couldn't we just simplify this equation so that it looks like y equals mx plus b? And you could. Let's simplify. 1/2 is being multiplied to everything in here. So I'm going to distribute my 1/2. And I would kind of do this in your journal as well. So when I distribute this 1/2, 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times 8 is 4. That gives me y minus 4 equals 1/2 x plus 4. Well, this almost looks like y equals mx plus b. What can I do with this -4 on this side?
Turn it into a positive.
Perfect. I can add 4 to both sides. And when I do that, that will give me y equals 1/2 x plus 8. And look, there's my y equals mx plus b equation. It gives me a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of positive 8. So in this format, if you don't like it like this and it's confusing, you could always simplify it enough to make it into y equals mx plus b and get the slope and y-intercept that way. Okay, this next one, don't freak out. Here's the last one that we're learning today.
Wait.
Okay, my bad.
You good? I just have to write it down because I missed it. Okay. You good?
All right. This is called the standard form equation. This is called the standard form equation. AX plus BY equals C. AX plus BY equals C. So all of these are linear equations. It's just they're in different forms. Now, what I wrote over here, slope equals negative a over b, is a shortcut. But a lot of you, I don't want you to memorize the shortcut. We have to understand why this is the shortcut. And the y-intercept is c over b. And I'm going to show you why these shortcuts work. If you can memorize them, good for you, because then you won't have to do the extra work. But you also, understanding why it is will help you memorize them. I hope nobody tries to attempt the work today without watching this video first. All right, so I'm gonna do something and I want you to tell me the moment it gets confusing. I wanna change ax plus by equals c into a y equals equation. So I wanna solve for y. So we did this like in the second week of the 9 weeks, where we were solving for a specific variable. We're gonna do that again. So I wanna solve for y. So I wanna get rid of the ax and I wanna get rid of this b. First thing I wanna get rid of is the ax. It's a positive ax. So how would I get rid of it?
You subtract.
Perfect. I'm gonna subtract ax from both sides. Put my line. When I do that, it gives me by equals c minus ax. I almost have this as a y equals equation, but this b is attached to it, multiplied. So how would I get rid of the b? Good, I would divide b. So I'm gonna divide by b on both sides. Let me bring this down here. When I do that, it gives me y equals c divided by b and negative ax divided by b. Now, what we just did with letters, let us do it with numbers so that you can make the connection of why negative a over b and c over b that's the slope and that's the y-intercept. I wish I had more room on this piece of thing. Okay. Let me make up some easy numbers. So 2x plus 3y equals 6. In the future, like today, questions are going to ask you, what is the slope and what is the y-intercept of this equation? If you understand these shortcuts, you can easily go, okay, the y-intercept is c over b. So 6 divided by 3, that's my c, that's my b, would equal 2. And slope is negative a over b, so that'd be negative 2 over 3. But I don't want you to memorize this without understanding. So we're gonna change this to y equals. And we're gonna do everything Noah told us, all the steps over here. We're gonna do the same thing over here. So I wanna get rid of this positive 2x. So how would I get rid of it?
Well, subtract 2.
Perfect. I'm gonna subtract 2x from both sides. That's gonna give me 3y equals 6 minus 2x.
And then divide by 3.
Perfect. So then I gotta get rid of this 3, so I'm gonna divide both sides by 3. When I do that, that gives me y equals 6 divided by 3 is 2. And negative 2x divided by 3 is negative 2 3x. I don't have to simplify that because it can't be simplified. So now this should look familiar. This is your slope-intercept form. It's just your slope and y-intercept are on opposite sides now. 2 is your y-intercept, and negative 2/3 is your slope. And there's your slope, and there's your y-intercept. All right, that's pretty difficult. What do you think?
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. I'm gorgeous.
Okay, so we're gonna look at different examples and keep working with all 3 of these equations. I'm gonna probably let you use your notes on the next test, so make sure your notes are pretty legit and you have all 3 of these equations in your notes. So, huh?
I was just saying, if they need a picture of my notes, I got them. My notes are cute.
Mine is sloppy.
Mine are good. Look at you.
All right. So last year we learned 2 different types of slopes. We learned, you remember that puff positive? All right, so we learned that if my line is going up from left to right, the slope is positive. Because this is going up from left to right. I'll be going up this hill. And remember that guy was like puff positive. And then if my line's going down from left to right, the slope is negative. I think the guy said nice negative in the video. That I don't remember. Because it'll be going down from left to right. This is negative. The 2 that we did not learn last year is a horizontal line and a vertical line. So I would just draw quickly a horizontal line and a vertical line. A horizontal line has a slope that equals 0. And if you remember anything about slope, slope is rise over run. And so the slope is 0 because I'm not rising at all. I'm rising 0 and I'm running by whatever. Let's say I'm running by 2. 0 divided by anything is just 0. So that's why the slope of a horizontal line is 0. And a vertical line, the slope is undefined. So those are the 2 new ones you're learning. But if you're middle school, you haven't learned any of these. So make sure you have all of those definitions. I'm just saying that for the video. I know all of you are high schoolers in the class right now.
Wait, that's middle school?
Yeah, I have a 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in algebra in middle school.
Jesus. A 6th grader?
Mm-hmm. First year ever. All right. So, if you remember, I'll just stop saying if you remember. So slope, another word for slope is rate of change. Another word for slope is rate of change. So you need to know that I'll be asking it either way. And I already wrote this definition. Slope is the steepness of a line. It measures the steepness of a straight line. So again, this one would be positive slope. This would be a negative slope because it's going down. This is a slope of 0, and this is a slope of undefined. So you just wrote all these, so you don't need to rewrite them. The big thing is, remember that, write it down, that slope and rate of change are the same thing.
Miss Dawn, don't take it off here.
Okay. I need to send out a remind anyways, because I don't want people to bomb stuff because they're not watching the video first.
Every single day.
All right, so let's look at a reminder of how to find slope, or just learning how to find slope. So slope is the steepness of the line. I've already said that 3 times. So this is the definition. That's important. I'll probably have a definition section on the test. To find slope, I use the term rise over run. Rise over run. When it's talking about rise, it wants to know how much in the vertical direction, up or down, your line is going from one point to the next, and how far in the horizontal direction, left and right, it's going from one point to the next. So another way that we say this is it's our change in y over our change in x. Because vertical is the y-axis, so let's make sure we remember this. The vertical axis is the y-axis, the horizontal axis is the x-axis. So it's our change in vertical over our change in horizontal from one point to the next. So let me draw an example. And I don't expect you to draw this on your journals. I would just look at the screen. Okay, Ms. Patterson, straight line. Okay. So to find the slope of this graph is I need to have 2 points on my line. I need to find 2 points on my line. So I'm just going to use this point right here and this point right here. And I need to figure out how far vertically it's going up from one point to the next and how far horizontally it's going from one point to the next. So my rise over my run. Rise over run. So we're trying to figure out how much vertically my change in y over my change in x. So we draw a right triangle from one point to the next. This is going by ones, so I can just do some bunny hops. It's rising 1, 2. So my rise is 2, and my run is 1, 2, 3. My run is 3. So the slope of this line is 2 over 3. Is that kind of bringing back your memory a little bit?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Good. One thing I want you to also remember is that it doesn't matter which 2 points you choose, right? It's the same line, so it should have the same slope. So my rise on this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. And my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, rise over run, 4 over 6 is the same thing as 2/3. So the slope is the same no matter which 2 points you choose on your line. And the slope is positive because it's going up from left to right.
Ms. Patterson.
Yeah.
We always have to simplify it then?
Yeah, so always simplify the fraction. All right, the last thing before you do some practice is the y-intercept. So I know that y'all probably remember this, but I have to go over this again because it'll be totally new to other people. So the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. That's why it's important to remember that this vertical one is the y-axis. So you're looking for where your graph hits the y-axis. So boop, that hits the y-axis here. And so your y-intercept would equal 2, because this is the 2 value on y, on the y-axis, the value of 2. The main thing last year that I saw people mess up on is they were using the x-intercept. We're not asking for the x-intercept on any of these. We're asking for the y-intercept. So the y-intercept would equal 2. On this graph, bam, the y-intercept is -2. It hits the y-axis at -2. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of different graphs And we're gonna write the equation for the three different types of equations. Excuse me. My first question is though, this is not going by ones. If it was, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be 4 right here, but there's 2. So what is this going by? Point, yeah, so 1.5, 1, 1.52. So this is going by 0.5. So remember that when we're doing the slope and y-intercept. What is the y-intercept of this graph?
-2.
-2. Bam, it hits the y-axis right here. So the y-intercept equals -2. Is my slope positive or is my slope negative?
Negative. Oh, positive. Sorry, positive.
I'm stupid as
My
well.
slope is positive. This line is going up from left to right. So I know my slope is going to be positive something, but we got to figure out that rise over run. So I'm going to use the y-intercept and the x-intercept because that's the easiest because it already makes a right triangle for me. So I'm going to use these 2 points. Oh, that wasn't a straight line. I'm going to use these 2 points to find my slope. So I need to do my rise over run. So you could do it in your head or with your finger on the screen if you want to kind of help you. I would probably join Zoom unless you can, if you can understand it from just looking at the big screen, that's fine. But sometimes for me, I have to visually do it with my hand or with a pencil. But it's going up 0.5, 1, 1.52. So my rise is 2. And my run is 0.5, 1, 1.52, 2.53. And my run is 3. So my slope is 2/3. So what would the equation of my line be in slope-intercept form?
Y equals 2/3 x plus 2.
Negative.
Sorry.
-2.
Y equals 2/3x minus 2. Yeah, since the y-intercept's -2, it'd be -2. So this is my equation in slope-intercept form. Awesome. I'm gonna skip that one. All right, this one. What is the y-intercept of this graph?
6.
Perfect. So my y-intercept.
Wouldn't it be -6 next because the thing is negative?
Well, the y-intercept, where it hits the y-axis, is +6. My slope would be negative whatever. The slope is negative, not the y-intercept. So you have to know that these are different from each other. The y-intercept is in the positive y region, so it's positive. But since this line is going down, my slope is negative. So this is easier. This is going by ones. So we can just do our bunny hops. So I'm gonna choose this point and I guess the y-intercept is fine. So I need to figure out my rise over my run. So my rise is 1, 2, 3. And my run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is -3/4. So what would my equation be for this graph?
Equals -3/4 x plus 6.
Perfect. So y equals mx plus b. The m is -3/4. The b is 6. All right, we're gonna do one more example before you go to your activity for the day. All right, what's the y-intercept?
4. Positive 4.
Perfect. Oops. right. Anyone want to go ahead and annotate my screen for me and find the slope?
Five.
1/4.
Shut up.
So y'all, okay, awesome. So, okay, thank you. I don't know who was doing that. Good.
No, I don't like
Whoever did that, perfect. Their rise was 1 and the run was 4. And
Is that my
is my slope positive or negative?
negative?
It'd be negative 1/4. So my equation would be negative 1/4 x plus 4. Good. So go ahead and go to El Nearpado, or sorry, go to Canvas and go to the module.
I'm ready.
On the Nearpod.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
All right. So the ones I'm giving you the answer to is this one right here. This is a horizontal line. I didn't teach you what the equation would be, but on a horizontal line, the equation is a y equals equation, and this is at the 5 on the y. So the one that goes with this one is y equals 5.